Hello, class. We're looking at our construction notes for day 4. So let's see what we got today. Today we're working on bisecting an angle. So what I attempted to do here with these first 4 is kind of illustrate these steps for you. So what we're doing first is we are placing our compass on the vertex of the angle and we're making this arc. So step 1 is making an arc. And then our next step is we're going to look at bisecting this angle. So remember, an angle is how wide something's open, right? So it's how wide this is open here. That's my angle. So the part I'm bisecting is between here and here. So between those 2 points, I'm going to do that perpendicular bisector construction that we keep calling the fish. So I start from here and I do an arc, and then I'm going to go over to the next one. I'm going to do an arc also, so you can see that here between these 2 points, we have that fish shape. And I'm just kind of going over this to make it more clear. And then after we have the fish, we connect it. So first we're making an arc, and then we're starting on opposite sides of that angle, and we're bisecting the angle by doing the fish, and then we're going to connect it through. So now you're going to try at the bottom of the page, okay? So our first step is to draw an arc, and it needs to cross both sides of the ray. So I'm going to make my angle pretty big on this baby. I guess angles maybe, I'm talking about the angle up here, right? But I want to make sure it crosses twice and it's big enough to work with. And then once it crosses twice, now I want to look at bisecting my angle. So that means I'm going to do my perpendicular bisector steps between these 2. So that's called, we always call that the fish. That's what we've been calling it in class because it kind of looks like one. So we're going to do one arc from that side, go over here on the other side, do another arc, and then we're going to connect it through. And that is going to bisect our angle. So it's going to cut it in half. So if our original angle was 50 degrees, now we'd have a 25 and a 25. So basically this part here is congruent to this part over here. So I'm going to put those marks on it to show it's congruent. So it's going to cut an angle in half. It's going to bisect it, divide it into 2 equal parts. We're going to try the same thing on the next page. And this time I have an obtuse angle. So I did the same thing. I did a big arc through here. Then I looked at these 2 points. And from those 2 points, I did that fish thing again. I did my bisector steps. So I did an arc from one side. I did an arc from the other side, which is right here. And then I connected it through. So let's try. So first thing you're going to do is make an arc that crosses both rays. So let me look at my compass. I think about like this will work. Needs to cross it in 2 places. It got a little bit wonky there. Sometimes it's better to turn your paper instead of your compass. So let's try that. There, that looks better. Okay, now that I have those 2 places where it crosses, I'm going to go between these 2 and do my bisector steps. I'm going to make that fish again. Just like when we learned how to do a perpendicular bisector, it's the same thing. So compass needs to be open more than halfway of the distance between the 2, so I have to open it a little bit more. And I'm going to make one arc, and then I'm going to put pencil over here, my compass point over here, and make another arc, and then I'm going to connect it through. So when I connect it, I'm basically connecting this point right here with this point right here with this point right here. And all 3 of those should line up. But I'm really just going to start it here and go up because what I'm trying to do is bisect my angle. So this angle right here, this part, is going to be congruent to this part over here. So I have bisected my angle. I have divided it in half. So remember, the angle is like how wide this is opening. This is my angle. My angle is not this little line segment over here, and that's the mistake I'm seeing students make right now. So on the last page of our notes, we've got a lot of paper shuffling here. We're looking at constructing a 90-degree angle. So the first thing we want to do is make a line segment. And then we're going to do our perpendicular bisector steps, which again, that's going to be the fish, right? So I'm going to start at this line segment, or start at this end, start at this end. We're going to do arcs from both directions. So I want to stretch my compass out more than halfway, to a fish, go over here, do the other side of the fish, and then we'll connect it through, and that's going to make a right angle. So it's interesting because we can make a 90-degree angle and now we know how to bisect, it's possible to do a whole bunch of other angles. So this makes a 90-degree angle, but if I wanted to make a 45, I would have to take this guy and I would have to bisect it. So I would draw an arc. We'll just kind of go through it because it's going to be on the homework. I would draw an arc through this one, and then I would go from here to here, and I would do my bisector steps again. I would make that fish, and then I would connect it up through, and then I would have a 45. So once you can make a 90, you can make a 45. I could make a 135, right? I could do all different kinds of things. So let's go ahead and check this out. So if I connect this, now I have 45 degrees on this side, right? This is a 45. So 90 is the whole thing, 45's here. And if I look at this angle over here, that would be 90 plus 45. That would be 135 degrees. So we could make lots of interesting angle measures by using these steps together. We could even take this one and we could cut it in half again, right? We could make a 22.5 degree angle. So last construction today is going to be making a 60-degree angle. So remember, in an equilateral triangle, all sides are equal and all angles are equal. And because the angles are all congruent or equal, if we're talking about the side lengths, we would say equal. I guess if we're talking about sides, we should say congruent. And this one, we could be talking about the measure of the angles. Then we say they're equal, right? If we're talking about the side lengths, we would say equal. The actual angles or sides themselves, we say congruent. But if we know all of our angles are equal and the angles together have to add up to 180, well, 180 divided by 3 would be 60. So all of the angles are going to equal 60 degrees. So basically, I just have to make an equilateral triangle, and then I have a 60-degree angle. So we're going to make a line segment, and then we're going to stretch our compass out like this. And it has to be exactly that length for equilateral triangle because all our sides are equal. Make an arc from one side, make an arc from another. And then if I only connect this on one side, then I have just an angle and not a triangle. So here is my 60-degree angle. Again, I could bisect this and make a 30, right? I could take this angle right here. I could go from here to here, do a fish, and cut it in half and make it a 30-degree angle. So lots of different angle measures we can work with now. All right, if you have any questions, make sure to ask them during class. Class assignments are really short right now. I know this takes